clutching it in his fist. When he opened his palm, the origami bird was in pieces. With a puff of breath, he scattered the scraps into the air. They billowed over the deck like petals of snow. Sayo snorted. "You only say that because you're a crafter. Most normal folk would be glad to see a shikigami burn." With a flick of his fingers, Himura made the scraps of paper dance around his feet. Crafter. People had spat that word at him as though it were a curse. Others had whispered it in terror. But when Sayo said the word crafter, it was with the scorn of someone who knew Himura and was deeply unimpressed by him. "Speaking of crafters," Sayo's gaze swept across the dawning sky, "you should get going. You'll need to arrive at the Midori by sunrise. According to the captain's informant, the girl should be serving breakfast in the main banquet hall. Come back with her, or don't come back at all." Himura turned his gaze towards the clouds. A single light glimmered against the plum-coloured sky. Though from a distance it looked like a stranded star, he knew the light was coming from the Midori, the Empire's first and only airborne banqueting hall. What's a crafter doing serving breakfast all the way out here? He wondered. What strange twist of fate had reduced someone who could control paper at command, whose blood ran thick with the power of their ancestors, to the life of a mere waitress? Himura supposed it was a good thing he was saving the girl from such ignoble work. He longed for the company too. Travelling with Sayo and the rest of the airship's crew was like being a wolf among sparrows. It was tiring to be surrounded by people who could never understand the buzz of power in his veins or how the rustle of paper tugged at his heart. "Don't make any trouble," Sayo warned him. "Just get the girl and go. You'll know who it is when you see her, right? You won't bring back some random maid." "I always recognise my own kind." Himura snapped his fingers and the pieces of paper fluttering around his feet swirled upwards. With a flick of his hand, they knitted together into a white bracelet around his wrist. Climbing onto the ship's guardrail, Himura held his hands out like a tightrope walker for balance. His legs teetered between the deck and the open sky. The city lights swam below him like the lights of deep-sea fish luring prey to their doom. It was a long way down. Swinging a leg out into the open air, he stepped forward and dropped. At first there was nothing but the whistling wind. The summer air cut at his skin as he fell. Squinting through his watering eyes, Himura waited until he was a distance from the ship before pulling the bracelet off his wrist. It broke into 1,000 tiny squares of paper that spun in a furious cyclone. The pieces merged together to create a pair of wings, stretching down into tail feathers and folding into talons. A giant white falcon formed beneath him. Everything from the tip of its beak to the curve of its claws was as white as snow. Even its pupils were invisible against the whites of its eyes. "Show off!" Himura heard Sayo shout as he landed on the bird. Himura smirked. He made no apologies for talent. Holding tight to his feathers, he repositioned himself so that he was sitting astride the bird's neck. It was not like riding an actual shikigami. There was no intelligence in this paper puppet, but the thrill of it was the same. Carried by the falcon's giant wings, he soared towards the Midori, where the banquet hall's red arches and wide golden gates lay open in a salute to the sky. 1. When Kurara awoke to the ear-splitting sound of morning bells, her first thought was, "I would burn this whole place to the ground if it gave me 10 more minutes of sleep." Lights pierced her eyelids as they flickered on. The bells blared against the walls of her box room. Outside, an attendant marched down the servants' hallway, bashing a gong and crying, Up, everyone up! Give thanks to our great emperor for this beautiful day." "Our great emperor can go suck on a lemon," Kurara rolled over with a groan. There were no windows in her room, but the glaring electric lights insisted that it was morning. Up! Give thanks to our great emperor that we may see another sunrise." The attendant's voice echoed through the paper-thin walls.